Good morning and welcome, I'm CrispyWT, and as you probably already know, having clicked onto this video today, I'm going to be talking about the upcoming Hearthstone patch. We have confirmed, as you can see, on the 19th of May, a little bit of confusion initially, where they confirmed details of upcoming changes on the 19th of May to both Battlegrounds and Standing, including nerfs and buffs. It was later on, or subsequently, confirmed, I guess, it is actually the patch this Thursday, not just details. So the actual patch will be live this Thursday, which is sick. There is no information on what's going to be in the patch. So I'm going to quickly run through one card that I believe could see a change and one card that I believe will see a change for each of the three top performing classes. So most likely a nerf for each of these, and then same again for currently the bottom three performing classes. And then unsurprisingly, I'm also probably going to throw out a nerf for a neutral card, and I don't think anyone will be shocked to see what that will be. Let's have a quick look at HS Replay, where we can see the class win rate from all ranked matches played in the last 24 hours. And if you have a little look here, we can unsurprisingly see that number one is Demon Hunter. We're confident we'll see a nerf. Number two is Paladin, surprisingly. A lot of people may not have seen that one coming. And it's also not the Mechadin, which is probably the biggest shock right now for everyone who maybe isn't following the trends quite as avidly as others. So we'll probably see a nerf to some Paladin card, and then potentially Hunter, depending on how aggressive they want to be. Again, it'll be the quest. On the other end of the spectrum, you can see Priest, unsurprisingly, feeling very sorry for itself at the moment. Well, is in dire need of a buff. And there's a couple of options there. Second place to that is Warlock, also not doing too well. It's got a couple of cruel feeling decks with the Abyss, the Fatigue decks, but they're actually not got some good win rates. And if they're feeling generous, maybe Rogue will get a little bit of love too. However, I think it's unlikely we'll see any changes to Rogue. Simply nerfing Demon Hunter and Paladin will help Rogue. Honestly, playing Rogue against a Demon Hunter feels so bad. Nerfing that down will probably bring Rogue up to be in line with Shaman, Druid and Mage anyway. So let's kick things off with Demon Hunter. My potential nerf is actually going to be, let me search for the card. Is going to be the Dread Prison Glaive. And if you're wondering, yes, I do actually disenchant every Demon Hunter card I get because I hate the class and will never play it. It's just dust to me. The Dread Prison Glaive feels bad to play against. It is cheap, and with the easy way that Demon Hunters have to manipulate the amount of damage that they can do with their hero, right down to the hero power, they can almost always find a way to honorably kill something, and having that then bounce through to your face really sucks. But I do not think the Dread Prison Glaive is going to be hit with the nerf bat. No. I think a lot of people agree, multi-strike is the true culprit here. It's simply giving you 2 attack this turn, which is one thing. That's fine though. However, the may attack an additional enemy minion. The wording this confused a lot of people. Basically means they'll kill one of your minions, possibly with the glaive to hit your face, and then they'll hit your face too. It's just a lot of big burst damage. They've had similar cards in the past which they had to nerf, not just for Demon Hunter, but also for things like Rogue and Warriors in the past. They've had similar scenarios where they've unintentionally enabled such burst damage to the face. Feels bad, there's not a lot of way around it. So how would we nerf this? Simplest way, 2 mana. This has to be used in conjunction with a few other cards on a turn, a big burst combo turn. So upping this to 2 mana seems like it's a good way to bring the power level down just a little bit, whilst not nerfing it into oblivion. We don't want to make sure these cards are never seen again. We just want to make sure that they don't instantly win the match. And I think that will hopefully be enough to lower the power of Demon Hunter, especially with an upcoming change, very likely to some neutral card. We'll touch on that in a second. But at the same time, let's be honest, if Demon Hunter never sees the light of day again, I would be happy. So what's up next? Well, we've got ourselves Paladin. Much to everyone's surprise, you'd think it could be Quest Hunter, could be Warrior, but actually Paladin has really stormed ahead in the last couple of weeks in the power level. And it is not even Mechadin, although a powerful deck. The biggest issues actually at the moment seem to be more around the hand buff for the Holy Paladins, which have overtaken it. There are a few options here. We could obviously go for the whatchamacallit, Cariel is a good option just because it's so strong. Nerf down Cariel potentially making it an 8 mana is an option. Like I said, it pretty much just immediately stops aggro, but this is not the biggest culprit of the issues right now. No, I think the biggest problem is the jewelry kit. Prismatic Jewel Kit is so strong all by itself, and if you draw this early and play it on turn 1, that can immediately win you a game near enough. So we don't want to we don't want to kind of obliterate it into oblivion, but maybe bringing it down to 2 durability. That's what I think is probably going to be the best option. Or maybe we can just change this a little bit so it's increase their strength but not their health, and that's probably a bit too much of a nerf. I think that would ruin this card. Knocking it down to 2 durability though is probably enough. And once they're drawing 5 mechs or have a huge hand, having 3 times plus, it's too much. It's too much. Now, coming in literally just behind Paladin, and 0.3% win rate behind Paladin is Hunter, and as we all know, it's going to be Quest Hunter that's going to be taking the hit, if it takes the hit at all. I think there's a good chance that they will do, but what are they going to nerf? Let's have a little look. My contender, my potential, I'm going to give down to the Dragonbane Shot. We've all seen this, we've all lost many a minion to this, and it's just a constant stream of spells, which is what helped trigger the quest. The problem with nerfing this card is it's hard to nerf it without making it completely unusable. If we increase this to mana, it's too weak, it is unlikely to happen. And the other potential option we could see is maybe Honorable Kid, rather than having a Dreadbane Shot added to your hand, maybe it'll instead be reusable this turn as an option, so you can kind of keep using this in one turn, but you don't have that cycle forever. Again, I think that kind of makes it a bit too weak, personally. I don't think this is a terribly designed card. I think it's just in a scenario where it is too strong. Which means realistically, what needs the nerf is the quest. The quest I do not have. The problem here, realistically, is that once you've completed the quest, obviously Master, Tavish is what they're aiming for. We could increase his value to 6. We could make him weaker, but he himself is not the problem. What we know, the problem is the fact that the hero power costs 0. And having anytime you make something cost 0, there's potential for it to break the game. As we know, it's been done many a time, and that's always what they have to end up nerfing. Costing 0 is too dangerous. It is a big blow to the quest. But I think the only real option is to nerf it. So once they've completed the quest, I think it's the second quest line. Basically means that it'll cost 1 instead of 2. It'll cost 1. That's still a huge, it's a big bonus. But I think that's going to have to be the option. I can't see too many other real contenders for the Hunter if they even feel like nerfing Hunter. Because right now, Demon Hunter and Paladin are the 2 biggest targets. Well, we're going to have to move swiftly on to the buffs, and right now the worst class imaginable is unfortunately Priest. It feels very often the case. every couple of rotations, Priest just seems to be left behind. Their whole reliance on health seems to be something which never really quite works out, and they should be the best control deck, but they always fall behind Warrior or even Druids in this case. We have a couple of options for how to buff this. One in particular is of course the Whirlpool. This is a great control card, but it is a very expensive control card. One option is to simply knock it down to 8, possibly 7 even, and it will probably still wouldn't exactly be overpowered. I think knocking that down to 7 would be fine, but I do not think that is the route that they will take. No, I think they are very close to having a very fun kind of mechanic right now with the Nagas, and Nagas in, if you're unaware, Nagas in Priest, trust. We have some good options here, some powerful Nagas. And creating a Naga Priest is not actually a terrible deck. However, the Serpent Wig, the most fun option possible, doesn't see play. It's not enough to make them strong. And I think this, although not a weak card by itself, I think making this a bit stronger would make the entire archetype stronger. I think that's really going to help benefit it. We could have gone for Valish or even the Queen's Guard, but I think increasing the Serpent Wig to maybe giving a minion +1/+2, that will be enough to bring the entire class back up to be within fighting range. And it's not just a one. The real benefit of buffing this is it's not play one card, immediately there's nothing they can do about it. It's a continuous thing which they can there are ways around it, there are ways to prevent it, and there are ways to constantly fight against it. And it's not just an uncounterable like a Nellie where there's really nothing you can do against it. Just behind Priest, we have ourselves Warlock, currently the second lowest win rate of all classes, which is odd because you still see a lot more Warlocks than, say, Druids or Shamans. Maybe not Druids on high levels, but Shamans you're definitely not seeing too many of at the moment. So to see this doing so poorly may come to some as a bit of a surprise. My potential option, I think, as a contender for a buff to help is going to be Zakul. The fact that the Abyssal Curses right now is a fun archetype, it's a cool archetype, it's something unique. I think that they'll want to try and buff that to give it a good go. It's nothing like any of the others at the moment, so they're not just having all of the classes kind of merged into one. The problem with this is, though, the biggest request I see of people wanting to have this buffed is to have your Abyssal Curses heal you for the damage they deal, to have that as a permanent effect after he's been played, not just whilst he's alive. That I think will be too strong. If you get into that stage, you're already battling, and that's pretty much a win, it feels like. So if they're going to be doing anything to this, I think maybe they'll reduce the value, or more likely they'll increase his health to a 6/6 or even a 6/7. He's therefore a lot harder to deal with. What we often see, though, is this really just in one big turn. It's the only times I've seen this reliably is one final turn to put them out of misery. But no, I do not think that Zakul is going to be the option for the buff. No, I think instead I'm going for the Abyssal Wave. Deal 4 damage to all minions, give your opponent an Abyssal Curse. On paper seems okay for 6 mana, but in reality all minions is painful. It prevents you from really doing much. If you think of the Flame Strike, I think it is, deals 4 damage to everything, to all your opponents for 7 mana, I think it is. The Abyssal Wave doing 4 damage to all minions, including your own, really hurts them a lot. And considering how they are struggling at the moment, maybe making this down to 5 mana is probably I think fair, and probably most likely the approach that they'll take with Warlock, but we will see on Thursday. Now the final potential buff is going to be Rogue. I don't think they'll buff Rogue. Unfortunately, I love Rogue. My kind of my go-to is always going to be Rogue. But I think realistically, they're falling behind purely because Demon Hunter and Paladin are so strong, and they both, the Demon Hunter is effectively Rogue 2.0. It does what Rogue does, but it does it better. So if they can knock that down a peg, maybe it'll help bring Rogue back up. They're close to being a good class at the moment, with some very powerful cards in there. If they were to buff anything, they're not going to be buffing Pirates, let's not lie. That's already close to being overpowered. So instead they're going to go for the Burglar stuff, and I think maybe they could buff the Henchman Burglar by reducing its mana to 3 or increasing its health to 4. These are 2 potential options. He's been around for a little while, but when it comes to discovering spells, this is expensive for what you actually get, especially on a 3 health minion. It dies, you lose tempo, it feels bad. But no, that is not what they will be buffing, if they buff anything, because the entire update is built around the fun of Tess Greymane, and she's too expensive. She's just too expensive for how slow the archetype is. Burgle, Thief, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of randomness built into that. There's a lack of consistency, and the fact that you have to wait until turn 8 to play a Tess Greymane against the aggressions of the Quest Hunter or the Demon Hunter, it's too slow. It's far too slow. Any way to kind of bring this around would be knocking this down to 7, potentially even 6, but considering that they're not too far behind in the win rates, I think 7 mana would be what they would go for if they were to be buffing a Rogue. But again, I'm not convinced. I think it's purely going to be Priest and Warlock. Again, we'll see soon enough. But is that all that they're going to buff and all that they're going to nerf? No, I don't think that it is. I don't think they'll be buffing too much else. They're going to really just try and when they buff, they need to bring up a class that's fallen behind. When they nerf, they need to nerf a card because that card is often what is causing issues. And there's one card in particular, which I'll get to in a second. Let's go through a couple of potential options. I know a lot of people are very angry at the concept of Mr. Smite. He is a potential option, potential candidate for nerf as a neutral card. If you're playing any sorts of pirates, he's there. If you're playing any way to buff your hand, he's there. He is strong. Let's not lie, he is very strong. But is he that strong? I'm not so sure. I think the biggest hatred that's coming from Mr. Smite is the fact that hand buff can turn him into a Christ knows what, 10-9, 15-14, something disgusting. That's the issue right now, isn't it? Or he comes from Nellie and costs 1 mana. That's when he's a real, the biggest problem. The entire game has sped up quite a bit, so an aggressive Mr. Smite alone I don't think is bad. I think it's the environment he's in. Another option which you don't see spoken about too much is the Amalgam. Alone, this doesn't seem too strong, but you'll notice this alone is helping so many decks. This helps the mechs of Mechadin and the Mech Mage. This helps the Nagas in quite a few scenarios. This can even help the Pirates and the Pirate Warrior. So this is seen a lot, and it is a very strong card. But you know what? The fact that it's seen so much, it's seen everywhere, I don't think they'll need to nerf it. This also helps things like Pirate Rogue. This could help Nurgle Priest, for example. Nurgle Priest? No, Naga Priest. Nurgle is not what we're talking about right now. Naga Priest, this could be helping. And nerfing that can inadvertently nerf classes which are already a bit weaker. If they would do anything, maybe they'd knock its health down to 2. Nothing too strong. I don't think they'd change the value of it, because again, we're going to be hurting too many other things. No. For neutral cards, we all know exactly what's going to get nerfed, and I do not have it. I have not completed the quest. It is Drek'Thar. He is alone far too powerful. On turn 4, the swing is unimaginable. He is being played again predominantly in Demon Hunter and even Quest Hunter, where you see him now just for a little bit of extra fun. It would seem not so bad initially because you're having to design an entire deck around them with the minions, but in things like the Demon Hunter and Quest Hunter, both scenarios, actually they don't need high value minions, so this is just a given. There's not really too much restriction on the decks that they're building, and it's such a high amount of stats that appear on board when you play him. Yes, there are plenty of issues because some crazy people spent an obscene amount of money to get a skin on it to make it nice and shiny. And hey, your money, you do with it whatever you want to do with it. But I don't think you can be too salty or bitter if it does get nerfed, when in reality, it is hurting the game for everyone else. So sorry if you spent money on it. It sucks to be you. I'm sure you'll get a good amount of dust, and I think you should get dust. You spent money on something. But I think you should get dust, and I do think it should be nerfed. How? I think this is a very strong card right now, and again, it's helping. It's not just strong alone in a vacuum; it's helping the strongest decks. So I think this can take a bit of a bigger beating. I get that there's some nice synergy with a 4/4/4, but I think its health needs to go down for a start, possibly down to 2. Hell, if this became a 4-mana 2/2, I think that would be fine. I don't think that this would be underpowered. I think this would still see play. More likely it would be a 4-mana 4/2. Or one cool idea I have seen is keep it as a 4/4/4, but when it summons 2 minions, it makes them dormant. There we go, that's the word. So you summon 2 minions, make them dormant, just for a turn. Again, that's going to slow things down quite a bit. You've summoned them, so you've still got the value out of them, but it's going to take an extra turn to really get that tempo going, and I think that'll be a good enough, a bit more of a unique one. I don't think I'll see that, to be honest. My money is on 4-mana 4/2. So how close will I be to nailing these buffs and these nerfs? You know what, I think I'm going to be pretty bloody damn close, if I do say so myself. A few in particular are pretty much a given. A couple of others, it's a who knows where they'll go with it. Only time will tell. You know what, Thursday will tell. We'll find out on Thursday for certain exactly what's going to have changed, and in a week's time we'll see what impact that change will have actually had to the meta. Has it had any impact, or are Demon Hunters still going to be the usual degenerates that they are? I'm CrispyWT, and I would very much appreciate you liking this video. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, and if you think I'm wildly wrong, or if you think I've missed something important, please do chuck it down in the comments below. I will be revisiting to see just to see how goddamn right I was. Yeah, I'm confident. Have a cracking week and have fun, most importantly. See you guys again soon. Bye.